Guys, I have a question for you. What makes a romantic scene truly magical? Do you think it's the chemistry between our leads? Is it the dialogue? Is it the music playing in the background? Is it the way that the film is shot? What makes it truly magical? Is it one thing, or is it a mixture of all three? Today I'm gonna be breaking down an enemies to lovers classic, The Ugly Truth. And I want to reveal if this movie does indeed have that secret sauce to make a great on-screen romance. Hey Watchaholics, welcome back to the channel. If you guys love romance as much as I do, please like and subscribe because we're gonna be talking about all things romance here. But now, let's get into The Ugly Truth. So The Ugly Truth came out in 2009, and it was literally during the time where movies were, like every year there was a movie being pumped out that was a romantic comedy that was probably going to be an instant classic. The movie follows Abby, who is basically this control freak producer, and Mike, who is this brutally honest, like no filter kind of guy who gives relationship advice. And of course, like a typical enemies to lovers rom-com, they clash like instantly. But then Abby decides to ask Mike to help her with winning over this guy, one of her neighbors who she casually sees one night after she falls out of the tree trying to help her cat. Hilarious rom-com moment. As Mike starts to see Abby in different eyes, things start to take a little of a turn and we have our rom-com movie. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to break down two of these scenes and see exactly if they have the secret sauce to make a great romantic scene. So the scene we're about to watch is the scene where Abby and Mike have just had this like sexy moment on the dance floor. They were dancing it up. He was all happy because he just came from a late night show, and she finds out the reason why, he is the way that he is because, he's had a lot of heartbreak in the past, bad relationships, and he doesn't believe that there is such a thing as true love or a good relationship. And this is where they start to really physically connect, because at this point in the movie you already start to see that Mike is starting to feel a certain way about her, and I don't think you notice it too much from her, very, very little, more from Mike's end, but this is where it really solidifies, like, okay, there's some sort of attraction here. And they have this really fantastic moment on the dance floor, and this scene in the elevator follows it. So they're just like standing in front of the elevator, like super awkward. You can just tell in Abby's face, like, oh man, like I really feel like something's happening here, right? And they're both get in the elevator, and I love the way that they shot this because there's no side angles, it's just front on it.
Pick us up downstairs tomorrow at 8. Do you want me to call you?
No, I've got a wake-up call.
And they're making like, you can tell it's like really awkward, but there's still some sexual tension beneath it. And they're just having like small talk to like avoid like, man, I really want to kiss this person. Oh, and I love the back shot too. Like, okay, the elevator opens, closed.
My floor.
Yeah.
See
you tomorrow.
Clock.
And they like hug, which you never ever see them do ever before that. And she's like, oh, with her hair.
Good night.
It's always just perfect. Yeah, and the elevator keeps closing. And they're like, yeah, no, we just want to really kiss. And it's like this pent up moment. What? My favorite is, Gerard Butler realizes in that moment, and pause it. Gerard Butler in that moment realizes like, oh, something, like, what the fuck just happened? Like, wow, like she's more than I thought she was. She's not just like this control freak, right? Like there is something about her that I'm like really, really attracted to right now. Like, yeah, we just made out, but like, shit, like, do I want more? Like, what's going on? And then you have Abby who goes back to her room, and she's having the realization for sure right now. What the hell was that? And why do I want to do it again? Right? It's definitely, to me, this scene it has the secret sauce because it has that awkward tension. It's not necessarily like a sexual tension, right? Because there's so much going on underneath that it's not necessarily like, yeah, they have sexual tension, but you as an audience member, as you're watching the scene, it feels much more of like an awkward tension because they're like, oh my God, like, they definitely want to kiss. And I think what makes this scene also really great is because it's really relatable, right? Everyone has had a moment in time where you were probably attracted to some guy and maybe like there was something a little bit there, but no one had really made the move yet. And there's just like this need of like, there's something bubbling underneath. And I think that's what makes this scene really great, is because it's relatable, it's funny, it does have the moment of will they, won't they? Which is what we're always wanting, especially with an enemies to lovers situation. Now, this next scene that I want to talk about is the scene pretty much a couple minutes after the elevator scene where Abby's back in her room and she thinks that Mike is going to be the one knocking on her door, but it's actually the guy who she's seeing who that night they had decided that they were going to like consummate their relationship. So she's a bit surprised. But as that's going on, we see that Mike is going to go to her door, and let's say things don't go as planned for any of them. But it's a great scene. So we have the music playing, right? It's that like hopeful music. You have him like,
I really want to do
he has like this nervous moment, which is really nice because he's the first time ever we see him not confident talking to a girl, right? But the music really makes you hopeful. And then it just cranks out when he opens the door. And it's the guy that she's seeing, and he's like, this is the moment he's like, well, and you have him stuttering his words here. He doesn't really know. She's like, oh shit, he did come to my door.
8 o'clock. Morning. I told you that already.
You see it in his head, like just like regretting it, like I shouldn't have come, I shouldn't have done it. And he walks away, and you think that's gonna be the scene, but I liked that they didn't. I love that they have her confront him.
Hey, wait. He came to surprise me.
Yeah, how convenient.
No,
See, she's very
I thought it was
vulnerable.
you at the door.
You can just tell
You can host the show.
he's covering that up.
Tell me what happened in the elevator. Should I tell Colin to go?
It's the one moment in rom-com, in romantic scenes, when you're like, oh no. In this moment, right, it's that typical rom-com romance scene moment where you have the guy just like get scared, right? And this happens in a lot of romantic comedies and a lot of romantic scenes where you have that guy realize like, oh, this was a mistake. Like, I don't want to get hurt, so I'm going to push you away. And she knows that. And I like that she does call him out on it, like, oh, that's it? Like, you're just going to pretend like what just happened in the elevator was nothing, when she knows that it was something and he's just running away scared about it. What sets up this scene really great is the fact that right before he went to the door, you saw how nervous he was. You saw the first time that he wasn't confident at all to go up there and make that move. He's never been that guy. He says like, I want to do it, but for real, right? Like you can clearly tell that he does really like her or is falling in love with her at this point, right? So when he sees the neighbor at the door, the guy that she's dating, right? You know automatically that he's going to go into defense mode. So you know that this is all just a ploy, a play. Like he's pretending to be like, oh no, I'm a confident guy again and it's fine. Like I don't need to be in a relationship. Also in romantic comedies, we have to have this moment. Unfortunately, there has to be a moment before they get together where they will like, okay, I'm attracted to you. Oh shit, I can't be attracted to you. And then we have to have our separate ways, right? It just always happens. There has to be that beat where both of the characters will separate before they can come together for our ending, right? All right, let's keep playing the scene. What do you want me to say? The truth is ugly.
The truth is ugly, isn't it?
That's what I've been trying to tell you.
That's what I'm telling you. I'll see you.
And the music. It's a great choice. Really, really makes you feel something. It really makes you feel like that's it. End of scene. She comes in, and obviously we know what happens after. Well, she breaks up with the guy and everything like that. But, the music it changes, right? It really makes you feel like hopeful. The beginning of that moment, beginning of that scene before he gets to the door, it's like, oh, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to get my girl. And then by the end, the scene does have its change where it does become much more of a sad tone, a sad beat. It's no longer the more bubbly, like, yay, something's about to go down, right? I think this scene really sells romance miscommunication because that always has to happen. There always has to be some sort of miscommunication between both of our leads before they can get together. I think this scene has a secret sauce I was talking about, which is all four things encompassed, right? You have our leads who at this point have some good chemistry. I don't think this is the best chemistry of leads that I've seen. I've seen better chemistry between leads. I think what makes this a great scene is the music that they chose, the vulnerability that the character showed in the dialogue, and the setup right beforehand. Having that self-dialogue with himself really helps to sell the scene. And the last scene I'm going to cover here is obviously our get-together scene. I think that's always really important to cover. So right before this scene started, we had Abby up in the hot air balloon. She's basically talking smack about Mike because he had left. He went to another station to do his show, and she's really pissed about this, obviously. So she just goes off talking about how men suck and how men are weak and all of these things. And Mike hears this because he's like very close by. He goes over to the hot air balloon and they just start bickering away, as they always do.
They say they want true love, but all they want is a checklist. Is he perfect? Is he
perfect? Is he handsome? Because at the beginning of this film, that is really what she's doing.
So the elevator wasn't a gesture?
The elevator was a moment of
this
passion,
is my favorite.
Followed by a moment of panic on your part, apparently.
Panic? I came by your room.
Yes, and then you ran away.
That wasn't panic, sweetheart. That was an unwillingness to compete with the walking checklist that was in your bed.
I absolutely love it.
Two guys will always choose the one with the better resume.
That is bullshit.
That moment where it's that insecurity, right? This has clearly happened to him before. And this is an insecurity that he is now just throwing at her. He's like, oh, well, if she has to choose between two guys, since she's such a control freak, she's going to choose the guy with the better resume. Because he is insecure about that, because clearly that's happened to him before, right? He's never been chosen over the guy with the better resume. So in this moment, he's just like, well, obviously she's going to pick the other guy. She's not going to pick me, right? But I do love the way that this is shot. I love that they're both just bickering about it on freaking just national TV. Everyone's watching them just air out their dirty laundry, which is hilarious. It makes me wonder, like, if that doctor, I always forget his name, was watching this show, he's probably like, are you serious? He's probably like, what the hell is going on? So I find that kind of funny. But yeah, let's keep watching.
God, I hate you so much. I just swore on live
I
television.
hate you so much. Oh, I love it. I love enemies to lovers.
Oh, they're gonna
Then you
curse.
got the
I
music,
know it.
you got the music change, the cue change. I will say though, I do not love the way that this scene is shot because it is very clearly CGI'd and it's like hard to frame. I didn't like the hot air balloon.
Why don't we pass the time
location.
with you telling me how much fun you and Colin had having sex in Los
I
Angeles?
broke up with Colin.
With Colin in Los Angeles, you
Jackass.
jackass.
On our left, you'll see the
doesn't know.
Sierra
What?
glistening in the
Oh.
morning sunlight.
Oh yeah, that's got your interest. Well, if you think we're gonna finish what we started in LA, you are out of your mind. You lost your chance.
See, I don't like this shot because it has the thing. That's where they failed me there. That's where they failed me.
You're right. I had a momentary lapse in judgment when I thought you were more than you are, but you aren't. Clearly.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, don't fall in love. It's scary.
Yeah, it is scary. It's terrifying. Especially when I'm in love with a psycho like you. I just told you that I loved you, and all you heard was psycho. Well, you're the definition of neurotic.
No, the definition of neurotic is a person who suffers from anxiety.
Shut up. Yet again, I just told you I'm in love with you, and you're standing here giving me a vocabulary lesson.
The music makes you feel things. You're in love with me.
You're in love with me.
Beats the hell out of me, but I am. I think that's what he says.
Beats the shit out of me. But I am.
I picked a different location. I think it would have made the scene better in my opinion. But it's a great first kiss. I'll give them that. And I think the first kiss is very important because if you have a not good first kiss or kiss at all, it kind of really just like, it just doesn't sell it for me. But all in all, I think this scene, it has some of the secret sauce. I don't think it has all of the secret sauce, but it does have some of it, which it does have the really well done revelation that he's in love with her and he doesn't understand why she drives him crazy, but he still loves her. And I like that is his moment of vulnerability, right? Because when she's like, oh, I'm scared to fall in love. And he has that moment, that silent moment where he's just like, you know what? It is hard. It is hard to fall in love because he's clearly had a lot of heartbreak in his past. So I liked that was his moment of vulnerability compared to the previous scene. The moment of vulnerability came more from Katherine Heigl's part. At least that's what I felt. At least I felt a little bit more vulnerability from her on that end. And in this scene, it was more of his end. But I love the back and forth, the bickering, which is why enemies to lovers in films like this, like you have to have the bickering because if you don't have the bickering, it won't sell. It won't sell. And I love that throughout this whole film, you really get the bickering. But even in the moments where they are in love and he is in love with her, they're still highly bickering. What would have made this scene better was if they were in a different location. The hot air balloon was not the right choice. The music choice was nice. I would have liked for, I think, something a little bit better, like an actual like song, like with words. I'm someone who likes music with words in big moments like this, like when they finally kiss. Obviously it costs cha-ching, it costs money. And another thing I kind of want to mention as well is that these scenes all work because it shows how different they are, but how amidst all of this chaos they still connect. I think that's something that they do really well in this film, is that every single time that they are in a chaotic scene and disagreeing, you still see a bit of a connection and you see the characters progress. They really start off as these like opposite people, but clearly like their dynamic does start to shift as this movie starts going and you start to see Mike kind of like her a little bit more, or like these things about her that he didn't think he would like. Like, I think he loves when he sees her like kind of giggling and being like her true self, like even though she is like this like psycho, you know, control freak to him, right? She still has these very endearing, like childlike, cute moments where she's like, yay, look, I got my flowers, like, yay, he likes me. Or even in the moment, like there's like a scene before where, you know, she's like pretending to like be sexual and then he's just like, oh my God, like stop it, right? So she has flirtatious moments, she has funny moments, and she has that whole scene where she has like an orgasm with the vibrating panties in the restaurant, and he just like giggles and he's just starting to see how endearing she is, which is really, really great. And then you also start to see her perspective where she sees him in these little vulnerable moments, you know, when she sees him with the nephew, when she sees him on the talk show being really good at what he does, even if what he's talking about like just really, really fucks with her. The idea that he is that confident guy talking about it, like she's like, oh wow, he actually is really good at his job. He's good around people. He's good to talking to people. He has still those little moments of vulnerability that I think she really likes. And I think, you know, that's why it works so well, because they really do start as these enemies. Like, oh, I never ever want to work with this guy. He's the worst. And yeah, he's introduced as like this guy who's like, you know, I like a woman on top, right? Because she's the producer. You know, like these like little things that she's like, ah. But they still somehow find each other and find a way to connect by the end of this film, which really sells this movie as a great romantic comedy to watch. All right, so that was The Ugly Truth. Guys, let me know in a comment below what some of your favorite rom-com scenes are. And if you love breaking down romance on screen, make sure that you click that subscribe button, because there's gonna be lots of more movies coming your way. But I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for being here. Bye.